So today I'm going to be talking to you from 1 Peter chapter 3. And if you see, the title is Submission to Husband. Notice that Paul says here, or Peter says here, wives likewise be submissive to your own husbands, that even if some do not obey the word, they without a word may be won by the conduct of their wives. Notice that before Paul or Peter ever writes this chapter, that in chapter 2, he first writes about the worker/employee relationship and the employee/employer relationship. And he actually talks about how the employer should respect his employee and he should treat him right. He should be faithful to him. He should pay him on time. He should do all of these things. He should have a good attitude toward him. He should not abuse him. He should do all of these things. And he talks about how the employee should respond to this type of master or this type of boss with the right attitude, that he should love him with a Christ-like love and respect him because he knows that God put him in this position of leadership. And because God put him in this position of leadership and all leadership is placed there by God, his respect for this boss or this leader in this business that he works for, his respect shows that he respects and honors God. And it opens up the door for God to bless him and to use him as a tool and an instrument, even if his boss does not believe in God, to win him over. And so when Peter starts out chapter 3 with wives likewise, what he is talking about is that in the family relationship, even if the husband is unsaved, that there is an order of the way things go. For instance, when God created in creation, he created man first, then he created woman. But there's something that we must notice about that. And the thing that we must notice about that is that he did not create woman from the feet of man, because then man would feel like he is over her and can trample her under his feet. And he did not create woman from the head of man, because then woman would feel that she is over man. But he created woman from the side of Adam, from his rib, and she was bone of his bone and flesh of his flesh, because they side by side, created in the image of God, equally important, equally beautiful, and equally covered in the glory of God, were to rule over all creation together. So we know that when it comes to being made in the image of God, that man is not greater than woman and woman is not greater than man, that they were both created in the image of God. And since God is neither male nor female, but God is spirit, according to John chapter 8, and because God has both masculine and feminine qualities, he can both be a mighty warring father, fighting for the people that he loves and the things that he loves, and a nurturing, nourishing mother in all of his beauty. And because of that, what God did when he created Adam and Eve, he put all of the masculine qualities in man. So man represents his warring, fatherly side that fights for what it loves and the people that it loves and is responsible to take care of them. In woman, he put all of his mothering, nurturing, beautiful qualities into, and she now is a representative of his motherly, nourishing, beautiful qualities, and she is the capstone of his beauty. And so both male and female were supposed to work together, being created in the image of God, to spread his image and his message to the world. And what we need to realize, though, is that they both had different parts to play. So when Peter says, wives likewise be submissive to your own husbands, one, he's not saying that man is over woman in the sense that he is to rule over her and treat her as less than, but he's saying, wives, you have a position to play in your relationship with your husband, whether he's saved or not. You have a position to play. You have a role to play. If the pitcher on a baseball team tried to play shortstop and pitcher at the same time, guess what? Something's not going to get done. He's either not going to be able to pitch, so the game will not continue, or he's not going to be able to play shortstop because when he's pitching, he can't get back to shortstop quick enough, so everybody keeps hitting the ball through the shortstop area and getting on base and scoring runs. So it causes an issue within this team, and this team doesn't work correctly, and they keep losing the game. And it's like that in relationship, because if the woman does not play her role and her part, and the man does not play his role and his part, we wind up losing in the journey of life. Things don't work correctly. Our relationships become toxic if the man and the woman do not play their specific roles and their specific parts. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you here is that if you look back to the blueprint of relationship with male and female in marriage relationship, which is the way that God created it, what you will see in the blueprint is that man had a role to play. When God created him, he put him in the garden to tend and to keep it. And that word tend and that word keep actually means to guard, to watch over, to take care of. So Adam already knew that there was an enemy on the loose. And at this time, he didn't know it was Satan. And he didn't know Satan would use the serpent, but Adam knew that there was an enemy on the loose. And he was to guard and to protect everything that God put under his responsibility. And one of the things that he was to guard and to protect that God put under his responsibility was his wife. And he was to make her feel safe. He was to make her feel protected from the enemy. And a lot of times as men, we fail to do this because we make decisions and do things that we shouldn't do. And it literally ruins the feeling of security and safety in our relationships with our wives. And so, or in the relationship with those who we are looking to be to be our potential wives. So we need to ask ourselves, is there something that we're doing that we need to change that is making our wives not feel secure and safe? Because one of the jobs that Adam had in the beginning in his role to play was to make woman, his wife, Eve, feel safe and secure in relationship with him and relationship with God. Now we need to think about this because this is not the only thing that Adam had to do. Adam also had to watch out for false religions that were trying to come in and to lead his wife astray from right relationship with God. I say this because Satan uses the serpent to bring in another source of wisdom. When Satan uses the serpent to bring in another source of wisdom, what is actually happening here is that false religion is being taught to Eve, and Adam is standing right there, and his job is to guard her and to protect her and to be the pastor of their house and to lead her and guide her out of this false religion and to make sure that it does not affect her and push her away from God. He is to protect her. He is her shepherd. He is her leader. He is her pastor. He is to guard her from false doctrine that could lead her astray. Now, we need to notice that Adam failed in this responsibility. He was a protector when it came to protecting her from the elements around her. He was a provider when it came to tilling the ground and bringing forth food. But he failed in the aspect of being the spiritual leader of his family. And I'm going to tell you guys, a lot of times we want our women to respect us while we're failing as the spiritual leaders of our family. And if we are not in right relationship with Jesus Christ, the head of the church, the head of the body, our husband, if we are not in right relationship with him and we are not walking in integrity and we are not doing the next right thing and we are not practicing what we preach and we are not praying with our families and we're not praying for our families, what's going to happen is everything's going to fall apart, and we will not be able, we should not expect our wives to submit to us and to come up under the authority that God has given us. Now, what we need to realize is that in this passage is that he does talk to husbands in verse 7, but first he's talking to wives. And notice that he says, wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands. Wives, likewise, be submissive to your own husbands. So notice that Paul is not telling wives that they need to submit to everybody else's husband. He's not telling wives that they need to submit to everybody else's husband. He's not speaking about chauvinism, right? Or male chauvinism. See, chauvinism, the definition of chauvinism is it refers to an aggressive, unreasoning belief. Notice I said an aggressive, unreasoning belief in the superiority of one's own group, one's own country, one's own gender. It implies a blind fanatical devotion coupled with prejudice or contempt toward those who are viewed as inferior. So that's what chauvinism is. So he's not talking about chauvinism, and he's definitely not talking about male chauvinism. The definition of male chauvinism describes the belief that men are inherently superior. I want you to think about that. It describes the belief that men are inherently superior. And I want to pause on that for a second, because we know that when it comes to being created in the image of God, both Adam and Eve were created in the image of God. They were both equally important. They were both equally significant, and they were both equally carrying the glory of God. And they both equally had a purpose and a plan in the mind of God. Even though their roles were different, they were equally important, equally significant, and equally created in the image of God. And so notice many times what we'll do is we'll take on this mindset. Well, Adam was created first. God put his hands on him, shaped him. Eve came from his side. So therefore, Adam is more important than Eve. He's more powerful than Eve. He's stronger than Eve. He can do more than Eve. And even if you go on into the definition of male chauvinism, what it says is that it's this belief that men are inherently superior, more intelligent, and more capable than women, often accompanied by discriminatory attitudes and behavior. So notice that what this mindset does is it leads to looking down on women, trying to rule over women, trying to treat them less than. And how we treat the woman who is created in the image of God shows how much we love God. So in our relationships, we shouldn't look down on our wives. We shouldn't mistreat our wives. We shouldn't treat them like they're stupid. We shouldn't treat them like they're ignorant. We shouldn't treat them like they're less than us. As a matter of fact, our whole life should be about not just serving God, but serving their needs, meeting their needs, communicating with them, giving them physical touch, giving them affirmation, providing for them, protecting them, and making them feel secure. And when we do this, we can expect our wives to submit to us, right? And so this word submit actually means to arrange oneself under, or to willingly submit. Now, I want to paint a picture to you of this. You know, women are the capstone of God's beauty. They were created in his image and his likeness. He put all his motherly, nurturing, beautiful qualities into woman. So woman is beautiful. Every woman is beautiful in her own way. And so what we need to realize is if we were to go out into, I want to paint a picture of this word submissive. If we were to go out into the wild in somewhere like Montana or somewhere like that, where there are wild stallions. And we were to watch these wild stallions playing in the field, bucking, jumping, running, chasing the other stallions. What we would see is a beautiful creature, in creation. And this beautiful creature is not just beautiful, but it is wild, and it is strong, and it is independent. And when we meet the woman that God places in our life, we need to realize that she too is wild, that she too is strong, that she too is independent, and she may have a relationship with God, but she's still all of these things, and she's still beautiful. So when somebody is trying to tame a wild stallion and to get it to submit to them, or to willingly submit to their leadership, to be able to ride it and to use it to fulfill their needs, what they do is they take this wild stallion and they don't ride it most of the time to break it. They take it and they work with it to gain its trust so that eventually it will submit to them, let them put a saddle on it and ride it. But that doesn't mean that once this stallion submits, that it's not still strong, that it's not still beautiful, that it's not still independently itself a stallion. So we need to realize that if we want our wives to come up under our authority, if we want our wives to honor us, if we want our wives to respect us, if we want our wives to be there for us, if we want our wives to build us up, if we want our wives to encourage us or our girlfriends to encourage us, if we want them to listen to what we have to say about God, then we are going to have to earn their respect in the arena of daily life. In the arena of daily life. And many of us don't realize that the way that we live on a daily basis does affect the way that the women or the woman in our life respond to us. If I'm grumpy every day and I gripe at her and I complain about everything and she's never good enough and I'm always beating her down, yes, she's not going to respect me and she's not going to want to submit to me. If I'm running around thinking that I'm better than her, that I'm greater than her, and I'm trying to rule over her, walking in the curse that happened in the garden where man would try to rule over woman and woman would try to rule over man, and I'm hitting on her, beating on her, all that proves is that I'm just a weak man who's trying to control a strong, beautiful woman by beating her down. And then she's definitely not going to respect me. And I would hope that she would have the bravery and the love for herself enough to leave that situation. So we're going to have to change the way that we live. We're going to have to become men who show up for work, men who show up for relationship, men who live in spiritual integrity and practice what we preach, men that walk in kindness, that walk in love, that encourage our wives, that build them up. And so if you go on in this passage, notice that he still is not talking about male chauvinism, because he says, wives, be submissive to your own husband. He doesn't say, wives, you got to submit to every man. You got to come up under every man's authority. No, that wife is only supposed to come up under Christ's authority and the husband's authority. And what that looks like is not just this willing submission or this arranging of oneself under, but this word submissive actually was originally a military term that describes soldiers who lined up under the command of a leader in an orderly fashion. Notice that these soldiers had respect for the military leader that was over them, so they lined up underneath his authority, right? At his word in an orderly formation, knowing their position, knowing their place in this army. But notice that the emphasis in this military term was not on inferiority, not on them being less than the leader. They were just as important because they too were fighting this battle. So the emphasis here in submissive is not on inferiority to the military leader, but it is on order. It is on order. It is about knowing the order and the role the order that you are supposed to be in relationship with this leader, and knowing your role. And in the New Testament, this word submissive paints a richer picture than simply obeying. It conveys the ideal of 1, voluntarily placing oneself under another's authority. 2, supporting and cooperating rather than competing or resisting. 2, supporting and cooperating rather than competing or resisting. I want you to look at that, because what this tells us is that when a wife chooses to submit to her husband, she is not choosing to let him rule and reign over her. She is choosing to cooperate with him in relationship. and to support him in relationship while he is choosing to cooperate with her in relationship and to support him in relationship as they both play their role, working together to accomplish the goal of glorifying God and taking care of their family and walking in their kingdom purpose. Notice that it's about supporting and cooperating rather than competing or resisting. Many times in a relationship, even the husband and the wife will resist each other and resist cooperating with each other and supporting each other. And sometimes it's because when we go into a relationship, we have so much baggage and trauma from past relationships that it is hard for us to cooperate with the other person because we have trust issues. And it is hard for us to support the other person because we're so worried about ourselves. And so when we get in a relationship and we start to see that we're competing and resisting and we're not trying to cooperate and to support and to play our role in our position biblically, we need to hit our knees and ask God to deal with our hearts and to change us from the inside out, so that we stop competing and so that we stop resisting and so that we give in and begin to trust that person and to love that person and to support that person and to meet that person's needs, both on the husband and the wife side. And husbands, if we do not do that, the wives will never come up under our lead and will never cooperate with us and and will continue to resist us because they don't trust us. And we've given them plenty of reasons not to. See, this word submissive, the third thing that it means is to show respect for God's order in relationship. Now, notice that it's saying, okay, we realize, the woman is saying, I realize God's order in relationship. I realize the role that I'm supposed to play. I realize that I'm a helpmeet. I realize that I'm supposed to come beside my husband and to cooperate with him and support him while he comes beside me and cooperates with me and supports me so that we can reach our goals in life in the kingdom of God. But notice that the woman's submission is not weakness, but strength under God's control. So, woman of God, I want you to realize that just like that wild stallion, that submitting to a man of God is not weakness, but it's you taking your strength, putting it under God's control and saying, God, I'm going to play my role in this relationship. I'm going to cooperate and not resist. I'm going to support and not discourage. And we're going to work together to glorify you. So, woman of God, being submissive to your husband and playing your role and falling in line in the order of creation that God created you in relationship shows that you are strong, but that you are choosing to place your strength under God's control. And you are choosing to, in doing this, you are choosing to trust him to work through your character rather than a constant argument. Woo! Woo! You are choosing, when you submit to your husband and fall into the order of creation in relationship, and you begin to support him and you begin to cooperate with him and work together with him, you are putting your strength under God's control. And instead of arguing with your husband and making it hard for him to live with you, what you are doing is trusting God to work through your character rather than constant arguing. See, the image of this Greek word submissive, the image of this Greek word submissive paints a picture not of a doormat, but of a person who freely chooses to come alongside God's design, trusting him with the outcome. Today, woman of God, I'm calling you in all of your strength, in all of your beauty, in all of your dignity, in all of your value, to come alongside God's design in creation and relationship, and to trust Him with the outcome of your relationship as you play your role, as you become a helpmeet, as you willingly submit and come under the order of authority in your household, and you work alongside your husband and cooperate with him and support him and encourage him. It will be beautiful because you are trusting God with the outcome. And this is an act of faith and humility on your part that is patterned after Jesus Christ Himself, who submitted to the Father's will while never submitting His dignity and worth. When Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and He said, "Take this cup from me," 3 times, the Father never answered Him. And He said, "Nevertheless, thy will be done." Jesus never surrendered His value. He never surrendered His dignity. He never surrendered His worth. But what He did do was, in humility, submit to the Father's will, because He knew that the Father knew what was best for Him. And when you, woman of God, come up under the authority of your husband willingly, and you begin to cooperate with him and support him, and you guys begin to work together to do life, and you're not always arguing with him, what begins to happen is the outcome begins to change. And you still hold on to your value. You still hold on to your dignity. You still hold on to your worth. You still hold on to your strength, but it is strength under control. It is not strength out of control, because when strength gets out of control, people get hurt. Amen. But it is the same on both sides. It is the same on both sides. So you need to realize that today that God is calling you not to be submissive to every man. He's not calling you to male chauvinism. He is calling you to submit to your husbands in the way that God has called you to walk alongside them, to cooperate with them, to support them, to encourage them, and to do life with them. Because, woman of God, you bring the best out of your man. And if you want him to be who God created him to be, it's your job to support him, to encourage him, to build him up, and to cheer him on. So God bless you and have a good day.